Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Aftermath series, the last one of 2018. I'm so excited, so let's not waste any time at all and dive right into this week's episode of Critical Role. Now it's pretty clear that the party is upset with Ford, understandably so, but specifically Jester, and it seems that Ford is trying his best, more or less, to make amends with Jester specifically, but it's clear that she is not reciprocating his kindness, which is also understandable because it seems that Ford's personality has changed somewhat these past few episodes. He seems to be more impulsive and doesn't really think about the consequences of his actions, and that's something that he himself even called himself out for. It seems that right now he's only concerned with the two spheres inside of him and activating the temple to become one step closer to achieving his goal of power over the seas. And at this point it seems like he doesn't even care or is even concerned about finding Vandarin anymore, which early on was one of his big motivations. But now, is it possible that he wants the power all to himself? Is Ford so far gone in his quest for power that he would kill the man that raised him if given the opportunity? Now that's going a bit extreme, but it's something to consider as we see Ford's personality sort of shifting under Ukatoa's influence. And in this episode we also got some really nice Bow backstory and character progression. She sort of confided in Jester and seemed rather emotional during their conversation they had. She used a very soft-spoken voice, and her voice seemed to crack as though she was about to cry. This is one of the only times we've seen Bow so vulnerable. The only other time was Molly's death. It seems that the walls Bow has put up are slowly beginning to crumble. And Bow finished their conversation by saying "love you" to Jester, which was so adorable. I love them so much. It was just such a cute moment since we haven't seen Bow really express that level of a relationship with another one of the party members. But that conversation isn't the only character progression we saw of Bow this episode. She seems to care about the crew and their well-being and even went out of her way to buy something nice for them that she thought they would enjoy. And while she did have somewhat selfish intentions with it, sort of self-preservation intentions, it was still a shocking gesture that we haven't seen Bow make until this point. And of course, with Ashley back in this episode, we got a nice backstory and lore drop from Yasha, and a truly heartbreaking backstory. However, I don't think she gave us all the details. In her vision, she's depicted as standing above dead bodies, and with a title like Orphan Maker, I think it's safe to assume or say that her tribe would raid various settlements and villages and leave no survivors. But now she's on the run from that life. She's on the run from her tribe. Or is she? What if she murdered her tribe in a rage after the death of her wife? And what she's really running from is something greater than that. But of course that's all speculation, and it's most likely that she's just running from her tribe. And now, breaking away a little bit from Yasha, is it possible that the Xhorhasians will recruit various tribes to help in the war against the Empire? And if that's the case, will Yasha's tribe enter the Dwendalian Empire at some point? We do know that the attacks have reached farther into the Empire, and if the party ever decides to go back, it's safe to say that things will be vastly different than when they left. And who knows how much will change before they even get back. How many more cities will fall to Xhorhas? And now moving on, it's clear that Jester is still depressed and bothered by all of the events that have transpired recently and the events that transpired in the Fun Ball of Tricks. As mentioned before, she seems particularly pissed off with Ford since she likely blames him for everything that happened, and given that his personality seems to be changing a bit, so it only makes sense that she would be upset with him. However, she keeps telling everyone that she's okay. She still wants to be that bright, happy person that her friends know her to be, and she wants to be that beacon of light in their lives. But it doesn't seem like she's holding that facade up so well. Bow seems to be catching on, and Jester herself seems to be unable to convince herself that she's happy. And at the end of the conversation that Jester had with Yasha and Clay regarding Yasha's tragic backstory, Yasha said how she wishes she could be more like Jester in regards to how open she is about her feelings. And Jester seems surprised at that because deep down, she knows she's hurting. What will it take for her to be open about her true feelings, and who will she open up to? I feel like Jester is reaching a tipping point, and this whole temple and everything that's going on with Ford's backstory may push her over the edge depending on what happens. And now, finishing the episode, the party has finally arrived to the violently formed archipelago, as Matthew put it, which is an interesting descriptor which may give us insight on how these islands formed. Now, what if the cause of these islands forming was the result of some cataclysmic event of the imprisoning of Uk'otoa, and not some volcanic eruption? Or perhaps the imprisonment caused the volcanic eruption, which then led to the creation of the islands. Whatever the case may be, Ford, with hunger in his eyes, and willingness to put his other party members in peril by traveling through a storm, is now one step closer to, as I said before, achieving his goal of having power over the seas. And we get to find out what happens next in 3 weeks' time. And with all that being said, we are going to wrap up. And what a wonderful episode to end the year on. And I still actually can't believe it's been a year since this campaign started. It's absolutely insane that the time has just gone by so fast, and there's so many interesting threads, and this world that Matthew's created is absolutely beautiful and so deep and diverse. It's just absolutely wonderful to see it all unfold, and all of these characters living and breathing within this place. It's really such a pleasure and a treat to see, and I'm so glad I have all of you guys to join me on this wild ride. But what are your thoughts on this episode? And since it's the end of the year, not even just this episode, but overall, what are your thoughts of the campaign so far? What are you hoping to expect in the next year to come? What story arcs do you hope the Mighty Nine touch on? It's very likely that once they finish up with this whole archipelago thing, they will likely go back to the Empire, and we will probably delve into Knott's backstory and maybe Bo's backstory next. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below. But before we end this episode today, I would like just to take a second to thank all of you so much for all of the support you've shown me these past several months. I never in a million years would have thought my channel would grow as quickly as it did, so truly thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. It really does mean the world to me, and I'm certainly not stopping anytime soon, since we have years more of content to go through, and I have so many more ideas that I want to bring to you guys that will hopefully bring the community together, because my goal is just to bring the community together even more than it already is. You know, it's such a supportive, wholesome community. I feel like there's so much potential to bring us together and make amazing things happen. So here's to 2019 being a fantastic year of growth, laughs, cries, joyous occasions, and mystery. And for the last time in 2018, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your weekend and holidays, and I will see you all next year.